Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I just want to say in advance that if you hear any noise around me, like scraping on the rug or panting or anything like that, it's not me. It's my new rescue dog, and his name is Fritz. He's a German Shepherd, and he's about 4 years old. And we're still getting used to each other, so he might get up and walk around. Well, it's been about a year since Nikon released the Z-mount 400mm f2.8 TC VRS lens. This one right here. When it was first announced, I wasn't really all that interested in buying it, a decision I would soon regret. My professional photography now consists almost exclusively of product photography, but for the past year I've been working in as much wildlife photography as I can. It's been several years since I shot sports, so I first didn't think I needed to have this new flagship 400. On top of that, I just pre-ordered the 800 PF at the time, and I already had the F-mount 600 F4, so I really couldn't imagine needing the 400. So later, after giving it more thought and seeing some of the initial results from this lens, I reconsidered that position and started thinking about the advantages. First, the speed. The 400 2.8 has long been the holy grail of sports lenses for a reason. Okay, so to keep this video a bit short and hopefully not bore you too much, I want to focus, pun intended, on the diversity of this lens and start to explore the questions about its capabilities. There have already been a number of reviews, of course, and promotional style videos. Some people even went to the zoo and pretended that they were shooting wildlife. I decided to buy this lens based on the following expectations. Number one, as a 400 f2.8, there are times in almost any genre of photography where you just need every single bit of light that you can get. And while 400 millimeters is a little on the short end for wildlife, there are times when, hey, I'd rather have a loose shot that's sharp and pretty well exposed than no shot at all. And so if you're out looking for, deer or fox or almost anything at, blue hour, that's really going to come in handy. So there's that. And then next, of course, by now everybody knows, or you've been living under a rock, the built-in teleconverter also makes it a 560 millimeter f4, which is also very respectably fast at now a pretty good level of magnification. And then, of course, there is the potential of this lens to be an 800 millimeter f5.6 when combined with the Z 2x teleconverter. So what I'm doing out here today is I'm trying to test this 400 2.8 with the 2x TC on it and see if at 800 5.6 it is everything it should be in terms of the quality, the image quality, and all that. So ultimately, what I probably will want to do is sell this one. This is the 800 PF. So the question I have, can the Z 400 2.8 TC, right, with the 2x external teleconverter on it, the Z 2.0 TC, replace the 800? Is it the same or better quality? If so, then I can get rid of this one. So that is a big part of what I'm trying to test today and decide. And of course, then you still have the advantage of being able to flip in the internal teleconverter. But I do have an expectation that the quality is going to start to slip a little bit when you do that. I think that might be noticeable. I do want to run those tests, though, and just see. But, yeah, that's what I'm working on. Or, if we want to get crazy, even as a 600mm f2.8 if you want to use it in DX mode without the TC. I didn't think about anything beyond 800mm of effective focal length as a practical criteria, but obviously I was very interested to see what it could do. So let's do the crazy math. With the Z-mount 2.0 teleconverter, it's an 800mm f5.6, right? Easy enough. Then engage the internal 1.4 teleconverter and you're at 1120mm at f8. Go completely insane and go into DX mode from there and you're at 1680mm effective focal length, still at f8. I tested the lens in all of those variations, in the field, no lab charts or science-y specs and results. Taking real pictures in real life and looking at them. That's how I evaluate. But before we get into that, let me just talk a minute about the lens itself. It is, of course, made for the Z-mount mirrorless cameras, and it is not compatible with the Nikon DSLRs. It is a prime super telephoto lens and among the very top tier of Nikkor lenses. If you doubt that, just take a look at the price, which is about $14,000 US. The AF system is new and extremely fast and silent. Nikon calls it silky swift, and it uses a voice coil motor, which use magnets instead of gears. It has up to 5.5 stops of VR when paired with the Z9. It weighs 6.5 pounds, and it's about 15 inches long without the hood. The front element is 6.2 inches in diameter. In addition to the control ring, right here, which is found on most of Nikon's new Top Z lenses, it also has a function ring, right there, which can perform additional tasks which you can select. The focus ring, control ring, and function ring each have a different texture pattern so that you can feel them without taking your eye off the subject. It has the memory set button for focus position, and it has the 4 function buttons located out front. But the huge feature of this lens is the built-in 1.4 times teleconverter. Just a flip of this lever changes the lens from a 400 f2.8 to a 560 f4. The teleconverters are each tuned precisely for the lens they are installed in. This is absolutely not the off-the-shelf external teleconverter. It literally is a designed-in part of this lens. And that makes a huge amount of difference. Lots of people have gone over the specs in great detail, and that's easy to reference, so I won't list them all here. Those are the highlights. I could never afford a 400 2.8 back when I shot a lot of sports, but the paper I was a stringer for had one, and it was the most popular lens in the equipment room. So as I show you some photos from the past couple of weeks with this lens and give you the shooting data for them, here are my thoughts. It's a big lens, but the balance is nice, and I have been hand-holding it about 95% of the time. It truly is a hand-holdable lens, even with the 2 times teleconverter on it. Focus is ultra fast and completely silent. It seems like the Z9 autofocus system might even be on steroids a little bit when using this lens. Amazing low light performance thanks to the wide aperture of f2.8. And the vibration reduction is terrific. I'm still waiting on an ideal blue light test opportunity, but I've been really pleased with the golden hour performance. Out of focus areas, particularly when you're shooting wide open, are just obliterated. Here's a perfect example. This squirrel was on my deck railing, and behind it is a picket fence, a shed, and neighboring houses, all of which are disintegrated into oblivion at f2.8. Now, I'm not as big a bokeh freak as some. You hear this guy? I'm not as big a bokeh freak as some, but the shots where I've gotten it look great to me. More testing to come on that. Maybe I'll use some special lighting to create a nice effect and see how that looks. But so far, I really like the way it renders. The built-in teleconverter is incredible. I hate to use the term game changer, but it really is. It makes my 600 f4 obsolete while giving me the even lower light option of the 400 2.8. But what I was really interested in learning is how it performs with the external Z2X teleconverter mounted. Can this lens be a legitimate replacement not only for my 600 f4, but also for my 800 PF? So I've used it heavily with the teleconverter on, and my conclusion is yes. With the 2X, which makes this 800 millimeters at f5.6, the quality seems every bit as good as the 800 PF lens. I even stretched it by using the 2X teleconverter externally and engaging the internal 1.4X. And while I would do that sparingly in the field, the image quality holds up extremely well, more so than I expected. Maybe an extra touch of post-cleanup, but other than that, it's a legit option when you think you have to have that reach. What if you go completely off the rails and put it in DX mode, which will crop the sensor in the camera? Now, this is not an invitation to debate DX mode, and I'll remove any comments or banhammer anybody that starts to lecture me about it. I know what DX is, and I know how it works. But I know many of you want to know, so here it is. This photo takes it to the absolute limit, and in my opinion, it holds up very nicely, and it's print quality. I did do some noise reduction and some minor sharpening in post, but the image had everything it needed to hold up. I have seen in just a couple of my shots an occasional blue or purple fringing when I use the 2X teleconverter in certain lighting circumstances. Not enough to make any kind of a conclusion, but I know that there may be times when it's just not quite as good as having your 800mm lens in hand, especially the PF. As soon as I got it, I put the Kirk foot on it before I even mounted it on a tripod or did anything. I love the Kirk foot, I love the QD port, and the extra length. I also put the lens coat cover on right away. I'll do a separate short review on that pretty soon. The bottom line here is this lens is everything that it's cracked up to be, and I think even more. Yes, it is very expensive. But when you consider the range and the versatility of this lens, in addition to the stunning performance, it's worth it. No buyer's remorse here, not even for a minute. So there will be definitely more content coming on this lens. Like I said, I will review the lens coat cover. I'll tell you what I think about that. And I'm just going to do a lot of video and shoot as much as I possibly can with this lens in a variety of scenarios so I can have more to say about it. Definitely coming up before too much longer. So thank you for watching again, and I'll talk to you soon.